So as I was trying to figure out what video I wanted to do today, I realized that it has been a hot minute since I've done a Touch Her and I'll Kill You romance book recommendation, which, who doesn't love that trope? If you're a dark romance reader like myself, that's like your favorite thing. Like you go feral for it, and it never gets old to me. It truly never does. And I haven't done one of these rec videos for like 2 years. The last time that I did one, I was like still sitting on my floor doing videos, and like that was like, I don't even know how many phases of this channel ago. So I want to go ahead and give you some new Touch Her and I mean, not all of these books are new. You know, some of them have been published years ago. Some of them are more recently published, but I think I have like 8. So I made sure not to repeat any of the ones that I did in that first video, and I'll link it down below. So that way, if you want more, you can check all of those out because I still like love those books. But these are all of the ones that I feel like I want to include today. Also, I feel like my eyebrows look light today. I did buy a darker brow pencil to match my darker hair now, but I don't think I filled them in as a heavy, and they look a little light, but it's fine. We're gonna roll with it. Let me pull up my list. So first of all, let's start out with a really dark one. As with any of these, check trigger warnings. Some of these are darker romances. Some of these are lighter ones that just have like a really over-the-top possessive hero. But this one is a true dark romance, and that is Deliver by Pam Godwin. So this one follows Josh and Liv. So when I start talking about this one, you might be like, how is this trope going to fit into this book? But just you wait. So this one, obviously Josh and Liv. So Liv is she's in a bit of a bad business. She kidnaps men and trains them to be sold to other people who want these men. So yes, very messed up. And Liv ends up setting her sights on Josh to be her next victim that she's going to take. And Josh is the golden boy in this town that he is from. He is the star football player. I think, he's in college, but he's like the star college athlete, all around good boy. He goes to church. His family is like very well known and very like respected in the church and in the community. And he just all around is like this kind of goody two shoes kind of boy. And that's like the profile that she needs to take for this next person. So she ends up taking Josh, and then when he gets to this house, obviously the story kind of unravels. I really want to be careful about what I say because I don't want to give anything away, because truly this book, like, it took so many turns that like I wasn't necessarily expecting, and really enjoyed because I had no idea going into that. So I'm going to kind of leave it at that. However, you might be saying, how is this going to work with her being his kidnapper, but yet it's Touch Her and I'll Kill You? Well, let me tell you, there is also obviously some other people involved in this business that Liv is a part of, and that, you know, they do not treat her well. And Josh does not fuck with that. Even though he is like, how dare you put me in these circumstances, Liv? How dare you like do this to me? He also feels very, very protective over her. And as the story unfolds, you really see that protectiveness come out, and also then him finding that validation for always kind of feeling that protective edge for her, and like why he truly does need to like try to protect her. It's so good. I really loved this book. Obviously, if you know anything about Pam Godwin's books, she can go really dark, and I just realized I have 2 Pam Godwin books on this list. Well, she also writes a really good Touch Her and I'll Kill You hero. Really, Josh is like ready to go to bat for Liv, even if she is the one who brought him into these dark circumstances. Everything is not as you may believe. Next up is a bit, this isn't like a fantasy romance, but I don't really know how to like, I guess, describe it. Pestilence by Laura Thalassa. So it's kind of like fantastical-ish because it's following the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and like the literal 4 horsemen, you know, not how like in the Devil's Night series, those guys are all like one of the 4 horsemen. These are like the legitimate, like Pestilence is Pestilence. So in our world, the 4 horsemen have arrived, and Pestilence is the first one to kind of like go through, you know, and like bring his plague through and like clear out the country. And as he's making his way through North America, Sarah, who is a human, she volunteers to stay back and try to kill Pestilence as he's coming through her village. So everyone else evacuates and she's left behind. And this all happens in like the first chapter, so I'm not really spoiling anything. But she kills Pestilence. She shoots him off of his horse, and I don't remember how she all does it, but she legitimately kills him. And she's like, oh my God, look at me. I did it. I like have cured the world. Well, yeah, Pestilence isn't dead. He doesn't die. You can't kill him. And he comes back to life and instead now takes Sarah as his prisoner. And he's like, you know what? Death is too easy for you. Instead, I'm going to drag you behind my horse as I go throughout this country and kill people and have you sit there and watch and know that you can't do a single thing about it. And it really is obviously enemies to lovers with that point, but touch her and I'll kill you. So here's the thing. As Pestilence is going, other people don't know that he can't be killed, just like Sarah didn't. So other people try to kill him, and because she is with him, people start to be like, who is this woman? Who is this human woman that is with him? And like, is she a part of this too? And oh, when they try to attack Sarah, when they get to certain places, oh, just you wait. Pestilence isn't putting up with that. You think he's gonna let that fly? Because even though she is his prisoner and he doesn't want to fall in love with her because she is everything that he should hate, he can't help it. And don't you try to touch her. Screw it. We're going to go into this one next. You might be like, how many times are you going to talk about that book? You know, I don't expect everyone to watch every single video of mine. So you might have heard me talk about this book a lot. You might not have. You've probably heard about this book. If you haven't, then I don't know where you've been, but I'm going to continue to talk about it because it's one of my favorites and it fits this trope perfectly. And that is Haunting Adeline, and it wasn't out when I made that first video. So clearly this book, like, it needs to be on this list. So I don't care if it's popular. I don't care if I've talked about it a lot. If you haven't read it yet, you still got to read it. So obviously reading triggers though. So The Cat and Mouse Duet by H.G. Carlton. This one follows Zaid and Adeline. So Adeline is a writer and her grandmother ends up passing away and leaving her like creepy mansion, and Adeline ends up moving in, and when she does, she starts noticing some creepy things going on in her house and also a man staring at her outside of her window, and she's like, what's going on here? And that is Zaid. And Zaid is a stalker, and he's got a lot. He's got businesses that he's running. He's a busy dude. However, when he's walking by a window one day, he notices this display for this author signed at this bookstore who happens to be Addie, and he like instantly is transfixed by her. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to start stalking her. And he starts breaking into her house, leaving roses for her, having a beveragino and leaving the cup out so that way she knows that he was there. It is messed up, obviously. Let me tell you, Adeline is like, I am not going to like give in to this dude. So, you know, maybe one night she decides to like bring out dude home from a bar to kind of like taunt him. Yeah, next thing you know, Zaid doesn't put up with that, and he is not afraid to chop parts of that man off and mail it to her. So anyways, obviously very, very, very touch her and I'll kill you. And then just wait for book 2, which is Hunting Adeline, which is my personal favorite out of the duet. Oh, bitch. Oh my God. You just truly see the wrath of Zaid against anyone who will harm Adeline. And it's just so good. It's so good. I love this duet so much. Obviously, I feel like everyone's like either heard, read, or whatever about this book already, but I needed to include it. It fits this trope perfectly. How could I not? Next up, I'm gonna give you a fan fiction, which I get it. If you don't want to read fan fiction, that's fine. You can skip ahead to the next book that I'm gonna talk about, but I have to include it, and that's Secrets and Masks by Emerald Slytherin. So this is a Draco and Hermione fan fiction, which is like just my absolute cup of tea, okay? The war is going on, and again, you don't have to like know Harry, like I've never read the Harry Potter books, and I'm able to like read these, like the fan fictions that I've read, including this one, I can like follow it close enough, you know, like I don't feel like you need to have a lot of background knowledge about Harry Potter, except pretty much just that, like, you know, that Voldemort is like bad, and that like Harry Potter and everyone is good, supposedly, you know? And anyway, so the war is raging, and between the Order and Voldemort, and Hermione is obviously a very powerful member of the Order. She's like one of their best soldiers, one of their most important people, just like in general. And Draco is the High Reeve, or no, that's in Manacled. What is he in this one? The Demon Mask for Voldemort, which is like his number 2 in command, his like right-hand man. And it ends up happening that there is a battle, and Hermione ends up getting captured by Voldemort's army, and Voldemort ends up giving her to Draco in order for him to kind of turn her into a weapon against the Order. So it's a little like captor-captive vibes, and it kind of goes from there, and it is true enemies to lovers, because obviously they are on completely opposite sides of this war and of this conflict. conflict. But then as they start to kind of like talk back and forth, they start to like humanize the other a little bit more. And let me just tell you, let me just read this passage for you, because I literally included it in like my Instagram post that I made after I finished this, because let me tell you, Draco is next level protective over Hermione. Even when he still hates her, he's like, you're not going to touch her. And then when they are like fully like all lines are blurred and like we're together and we don't really care about the consequences, he is even more so. And let me tell you, okay, so I'm gonna have to leave out part of it because it is a little bit of a spoiler. So if it like seems a little like just jumping into it, that's because it is. But anyways, you'll get the gist of it. I've slaughtered more people than I could ever count. I've burned cities and army bases to the ground, and I've beheaded people because they've pissed me off a little bit. If I could do all that for a man I despise, what do you think I would do to protect her? Actually, shut up. Like, I love these two so much. This fan fiction was amazing, and I feel like a lot of people knock fan fiction because they think it's not going to be like as good as traditionally published books. But let me tell you, the fan fiction that I've read has been absolute masterpieces, and this is no different. So just wanted to throw that in here because it does fit. And if you're looking to get into fan fiction, you gotta check it out. Okay, next up, let's go with another one that, again, I've talked about a lot recently, but again, I don't expect everyone to watch every video, and I'm gonna talk about it again, and that's Garen Park by Nordica Knight. So instead of touch her and I'll kill you, this is touch him and I'll kill you, because it's MM. And this one follows Devin and Maddox, and it's an enemies to lovers motocross romance. So both of these two have grown up in the same trailer park, and their dads have raised them to absolutely hate each other. They are rivals in the sport, and they just get a kick out of beating the shit out of each other, basically, and hating each other. And like, this rivalry is well known. However, things change one night when Devin shows up at Maddox's trailer looking for his older brother, because they both have older brothers who are best friends. And he ends up showing up after he has been brutally beaten and stabbed by his dad. And he is trying to just find like refuge somewhere, basically. And Maddox is like, well, even though I hate you, I'm not gonna like leave you out here to die. So like, get inside. And there's like caretaking. And after that night happens, like, there definitely is a bit of a shift in their relationship. But even as that shifts and like they start to kind of find each other attractive, that hate still burns so bright, and it stays burning for so long. It's incredible. But the main thing about this one is let me tell you, if you think that Maddox still hates Devin though, just wait until you hear his dialogue about what he'd like to do to his dad after he finds out that this was his dad's doing. It is so good. It's so good. And both of them are extremely protective over the other and are willing to go very far to protect the other. And that continues in Lot 62, which is their second book. Just amazing. If you want two super possessive heroes over the other possessive hero, I can't recommend it enough. Next up, we'll talk about the other Pam Godwin book that I got on this list, which is an older one, but, well, actually, I don't know how old Deliver is, but I just read that one this year. I read Dark Notes years ago, and this has been a favorite of mine literally for years. I absolutely love this book, and this one follows Emmerich and Ivory, and obviously it's Touch Her and I'll Kill You, but it also is student teacher on top of that as well. So Ivory is a high school student who is just trying to like get through school. She has an amazing musical ability. She's really, really talented at the piano. However, her home circumstances are really dark, and she has had to turn to certain things for other people in order just to get by. And she is truly just trying to make it through high school so that way she can hopefully get a scholarship and like get out and away from everything. And Emmerich is her new piano teacher, and he immediately obviously recognizes Ivory's talent, but he also recognizes some other things that are going on in her life, and his need to like protect her kind of like kicks in almost right away. It's not like insta-lovey, but he very instantly just knows that he needs to help her out, basically. And he has certain tastes. He knows that they could like help Ivory a little bit. Anyways, I feel like that's a really bad job of explaining, but basically what I'm trying to get to is that Ivory really just is in a bad situation at home, and Emmerich is in a position where he knows that he can help provide her a safe space. So that's why he's willing to cross those boundaries. And also when he gets a hold of the people that have hurt her, sir, Just I would never want to get on his bad side. I would never want to get on Emmerich's bad side. So honestly, I should do a reread of this book. I haven't read it in so long. I will just give a trigger warning. There is animal violence in here. This book has actually traumatized me because of that. There is no trigger warning for it, and it is a cat that is involved. It's at the end of the book. I think you'll kind of like know where it's going when that chapter starts, but I just want to give a heads up to anyone who is also sensitive to that, because that is my one and only trigger, and that truly, like, it's like horrifying to me, especially when you know how much of a cat mama I am. So anyways, really love that book though, and like I said, Emmerich is willing to do what he needs to protect his woman. Next up, I got a novella. So if you just want something short, sweet, and to the point, that is Haven by Asher Rose. So this one follows Hannah. So she is actually running from an abusive relationship. I can't remember if they were engaged or if they were just dating, but she is basically on the run. She has taken her car and she has fled, and her car ends up breaking down on the side of the road, kind of in the middle of nowhere. So she ends up walking to this one bar that is close by to see if she can find anyone to help. And she ends up coming across these two guys in the bar who like are working there / own it. And she's like, hey, would you guys be able to like help me out with my car? But she has like no money, because obviously she couldn't really take that and have any way for her ex to like track her in any way. So the guys end up helping her out there. Though they're like, yeah, obviously like it's expensive, but like we can fix your car or whatever, like bring it, like we'll tow it, bring it to us. And they're like, and also, do you need a place to stay? And she doesn't like fully divulge what's going on right away, but obviously they end up finding that out, and they are more than willing to help her out. And they also have a dad that lives with them, a hot dad. So it's the dad, his son, and then his son's best friend, and it ends up being a why choose. And let me just tell you, when her ex comes a knocking, once again, these men are going to do what they need to do in order to protect her. This one, I don't really have much else to say about it. It truly is one of those where it's just like a lot of smut. And honestly, I'm not mad at it, because it is still fun and it has like enough plot to it. Do I think these four are soulmates? No, but I don't care, because I had so much fun reading this book. And again, it gives you that touch her and I'll kill you fix, while also just kind of like being a fun, hot kind of time, you know? We're down to our last two. I'm going to talk about another one that obviously is pretty popular, and I talked about Twisted Love in the first video, so we got to round it out with Twisted Lies, which is the last book in the Twisted series. This one follows Christian and Stella. They are standalone, so you don't have to read the first three in order to read this one. And Christian is a billionaire. He's got all of his companies. He's doing very well for himself. And Stella is an influencer, and she ends up needing a new place to stay because she has a stalker, so she needs a little bit of higher security. And Christian owns an apartment building, and he ends up offering her an apartment in his building for like very cheap, you know, whatever. She's kind of like, this is like, he's giving me a really good deal. I wonder why that is. Stella, I wonder why that could be. Maybe he's in love with you. But anyways, she starts staying in his apartment building, and it does turn into a fake dating aspect as well, because Stella is in the running for this big partnership, but she's kind of struggling to grow her following as quickly as some other people. And she's like, you know what gets a following really fast is a boyfriend or like a relationship. And her and Christian are kind of like friends at this point, and she ends up kind of telling him about this, and he actually puts the offer out there being like, well, I'll be your fake boyfriend for your social media if you will accompany me to like business functions, galas, that kind of thing as my girlfriend, because he is known for being a bit of a snake in his field. He's just obviously very powerful and like driven, and that can intimidate some other men, and they don't necessarily see him in the best light. But with a girlfriend on his arm, he's like, that kind of makes me seem a little bit more approachable, a little bit more of like a family man type dude, and maybe that'll help me out with my business. So they kind of strike up this mutual agreement, and that's kind of that, and obviously it goes from there. Here's the thing with this one though, once again, don't mess with Stella, because Christian is not afraid to chop your hands off if you touch his woman. I'll leave it at that. Literally one of my favorite scenes of all time. I love Christian. I don't know if he passes Alex. I go back and forth. It kind of depends on the day which man I love more, which cold billionaire man I love more. But because I recommended Twisted Love in the first one, I'm like, it only makes sense to round out with Twisted Lies with another really toucher and I'll kill you man from Anna Huang. And the last book is the one that I think I most recently read, which is Lessons Learned by Layla Simons. This one follows Paisley and Connor, And again, this one is a student teacher book. However, I would say that aspect is like, that trope is like lower down in terms of everything else that's going on in this book. So while it's there, I'd say it's not as like focused on as like in Dark Notes. So this one, Connor and Paisley meet when they are waiting in line at a club to get in, and Connor actually ends up paying for Paisley's entry, and he immediately though hates her and is like, I'm going to make it my mission to kind of like mess with her tonight because she reminds him of his ex-wife, and he has a lot of beef with his ex-wife. And Paisley knows none of this. She's like, well, thanks for paying for my entry, whatever, and kind of goes off with her friends throughout the night. But then Connor finds her again, and he ends up taking her out back. They end up having a little hookup moment, and then all of a sudden she passes out in his arms, and he's like, literally, what just happened here? And then the bartender comes out and is like, hey, can I have my turn? And he's like, excuse me? And he finds out that the bartender drugged Paisley's drink, and oh, let me tell you, he's not gonna let that fly. He's not gonna let that fly. And yeah, that's where you get your first taste of it. And just let me tell you, it doesn't let down from there on out through the rest of the book. And obviously then when they go to school, neither of them know that they are student teacher that night. And then when they end up going to school, then they realize that they are student teacher. And Connor doesn't really care because he doesn't really need the job as being a teacher. He's actually there. He's involved in some like shady business. And he was actually put there by like his boss to find out some information about other people, and like him being a teacher at this like prep school was actually just a cover. So he doesn't really care about his job, but he cares about Paisley's safety, and he's worried about like his business overlapping with her. And also Paisley is dealing with some things as well, and like some people threatening her. And just when Connor finds out about it, just wait. He's gonna do what he needs to do to protect his woman. And once again, we just eat that up. So anyways, I think that's all of the Touch Her and I'll Kill You books that I had for this video. But like I said, I have part 1 of this, so I'll link that down below, of more books. And obviously there are like other recs that I've taught. Like I'm sure in like some of my dark romance recommendation videos, you could find even more, because I feel like a lot of that trope then kind of has overlap with dark romance. So anyways, that is it for today's video. I have no idea what will be up next week. To be honest, I'm kind of struggling a little bit to come up with video ideas right now. So if you have anything that you really want to see from me that you haven't seen for a while, let me know down below. I know you guys always want more dark romance recommendations. I just don't think I've read enough. I think I've already done 2 this year. I don't think I have enough for a 3rd, but I don't know. Let me know if there's anything that you've been wanting to see. And yeah, that's it for today's video, and I will see you when I see ya.